What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another update. Yes, there is something different. I feel liberated. No hair on the head. And we're going to get into a Tottenham update. I do recommend this, and you should get it done yourself. But look, we're going to go into a Tottenham update. We've got a few things to talk about the last 24 hours of Spurs news. Starting off with the striker search. Alistair Gold says that Johan Lange and Rob McKenzie have been looking for Postecoglou's system, fitting strikers across the continent since arriving at the club late last year, with a number of high-scoring frontmen in various leagues watched and their data crunched to find their best fit. So it looks as though we are going, well, I think we knew this anyway, but a very much data-led search for this striker.
So I'm glad that they're not just looking at the total goals scored and just goals and assists, but the underlying statistics, because that's how we're going to find value where maybe other clubs don't see it. But the problem is, you know, we're in 2024 now. Everyone should be using data to make these kind of decisions, or at least allow helping them make these decisions. So I don't think it's kind of unique now that Tottenham are having data help their decision making. I'm pretty sure every club, at least in the Premier League for sure, but most clubs now in top level football will be doing the same. So I don't think it gives us an advantage doing that. It just allows us to make the correct decisions. But when it comes to the data and the strikers that we've been kind of touted around, I think who performs, from what I've seen in the data, like Gyökeres performs very, very well. Sesko performs very, very well. Slanky doesn't, from what I saw. Tony, I think, is mixed. Jimenez, I think, was
Jimenez does.
Good.
Jimenez does.
Yeah, Jimenez was pretty good on the data. I can't remember what the other targets were.
Yeah, but you know, regardless of that, regardless of what you're saying, does it give us an advantage? Look, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. But
I mean, something we have to do regardless.
Exactly. What it does do is kind of not diminishes completely, but it kind of alleviates sometimes the chance of us getting it wrong, how we've done so many times in the past.
True, but doesn't matter. Sometimes it doesn't matter how much research you do. Sometimes it can still go wrong. So it's not a foolproof thing. But obviously, I'm just glad that we're looking beyond surface level numbers, which we should be doing. We should be doing a decade ago.
Yeah. Let's get into specifics now. Let's talk about Emerson Royal. Once again, Trivela says that AC Milan and Bayern Munich have both made bids to sign Tottenham right back Emerson Royal. Saudi Arabian clubs have also registered their interest. The player will prioritise his mental health rather than money. His preference currently is to remain in Europe.
His mental health. So I wonder if that's alluding to the fact that, I don't know, maybe he has friends in Saudi and they're not having the best time of it.
Yeah, you look at the news coming out with Karim Benzema saying that it's not all cracked out to what he thought it would be, and he wants to kind of move out of there at the moment, and maybe they're not letting him move out.
Yeah, it seems to me that Emerson's the kind of guy who very much makes his decisions not purely based on money, but also based on the social environment. We've seen he's very, very popular in the dressing room. He's socially, he seems to be friends with everyone, and I think that clearly is very important to him. So that's when he makes a decision about his next move. Those kind of things are going to be vital, clearly, to him. So yeah, we'll see. And I think he's probably of the point of view, I make enough money as a footballer anyway. Just because Saudi chuck extra doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to go there. But I thought for sure if Saudi offered enough money, he would consider it, but maybe not.
Yeah, not due to that report anyway from Trivela. Next up, let's talk about Jean-Claire Todibo of Nice. A Nice publication called Nice Matin say that Man United, Atletico Madrid, Tottenham and Serie A sides are all in the mix to sign Jean-Claire Todibo from Nice this summer. Nice want 40 million euros for the defender. For a defender of that quality, I think that's a fairly good price.
It's very good.
But I mean, I remember, I think on the way to the last game that we went to together, and I said, guaranteed now Todibo goes to Man United with the Ineos links.
Yeah, that makes, put two and two together. It might make four on this occasion, to be honest. But I think Todibo obviously was one we were heavily linked with in January. He wanted to stay in Nice because they were in a title challenge at that point, but they didn't end up winning the league. But he's clearly a defender who's very highly sought after. I think 40 million seems, especially if there's a bidding war going to be for him, it seems quite cheap. But with Ineos,
is he in his last year of his contract, Todibo? Because we were linked with him last year. Wasn't that one of the factors?
I think we were linked with him in January.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's 18 months left.
No, he's got a while left, 2027.
So I don't think Tottenham will be the move for him as much as I would want it, as much as I think he would be a great signing at centre-back. I think he's going to go somewhere where he knows he's going to be the number one centre-back straight away and going to be the main man. And at Tottenham, with Rivero van der Ven there, I don't know if that's probably not going to be the case at Spurs.
Yeah. Let's move on and let's talk about a player called Ryan Cherki of Lyon. Graham Bailey said that Tottenham are keeping tabs of Ryan Cherki from Lyon. Interesting player, can play in the attacking midfield role, has been known to play on the wings as well at times. Contract runs out in 2025, market value of 25 million right now. Played 33 games for Lyon this season, 1 goal, 6 assists. 2 goals, 2 assists in the cup as well. Lyon has had a weird season this year because like halfway through they were in the relegation zone and then they had a mad second half of the season, didn't they? And they finished in the European positions. I think they're in a cup final as well. I'm not sure how central he was to that, but I have heard reports over him over the last couple of years where really talented player, but has had attitude problems in the past.
He's definitely a box of tricks, Cherki. He seems like one of those players who has that bit of magic about them, and they're hard to find in this day and age with players so overly coached. I feel, and there's a lot of individual ability kind of being coached out of the game. But I think Cherki is one of those players who definitely has maintained that. I think there's a few issues. I think, first of all, his decision-making can be suspect at times. I think as well, physically, is he a bit weak? I think there's a bit of problems with his physicality. And as well, as you say, his there's perceived attitude problems as well, which I think has put off a lot of prospective buyers when it comes to Ryan Cherki. But when it comes to ability and it comes to quality as well, I think he's up there. And I remember last season watching him play. Not the season that's just been the season before, and he wowed me so often.
Yeah.
I think last season was maybe a bit different for him. Maybe it was a bit of a step backwards, but he's still so young. You get the feeling if he could get his attitude right, he could be one of the biggest prospects in Europe. But also
Still only 20.
Yeah, but I also get the feeling, could he be another Adel Tarab, someone who doesn't fully fulfill his potential? We could
Tanguy,
as well.
We've had one of those from Lyon before, haven't we?
Yeah, we've also been burnt from one of them, so maybe Spurs fans have a bit of PTSD about that as well. So I don't know. It doesn't seem to be like one we'll probably go for. But
in terms of the profile of the player and what Ange is looking for, though, 9 appearances in the number 10, 6 at right wing, 3 at left wing, and 1 even as a centre forward this season. So, very versatile.
Yeah, and I think he's also someone who can hang on to the ball in the final third, can make something happen out of nothing as well. So I think he does have a lot of value, but whether he's the right fit for us, I think there's big question marks.
Let's go and talk about Ederson. Ryan Taylor brings us some update on him. And Ederson has been someone that's been linked with Spurs over the past year. Ryan Taylor says that Tottenham have scouted Atalanta's Ederson extensively. A target recommended by Fabio Paratici. A new defensive midfielder is among Postecoglou's top priorities in the summer market, with Emile Højbjerg in the line to be sold. It would take an offer of around £50 million for Atalanta to even consider selling the midfielder. Was an absolute star of the show last night in the Europa League final. Lookman scores a hat-trick, but I actually think Ederson was probably the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. His pressing was absolutely relentless. I was so impressed with how aggressive he continued to be pretty much throughout the whole 90 minutes without getting tired. Obviously, he's quite good technically as well. He was quite good when he had the ball at his feet. He didn't kind of panic or lose composure. He was able to pass the ball forward progressively, really impressively. And it was the first time I watched him for like a whole 90 minutes and really took a good look at him. And he was actually really, really phenomenal. And I was so impressed. And I can see why we've been looking at him for the past year or so. And I think when it comes to a player who maybe can add that little bit of consistency and have that technical ability, he could well fit the bill. And obviously he's been getting rave reviews for Atalanta throughout the season as well. It's not just that game, but he really stepped up in a big moment. It shows he's got their mentality to perform on the big stage as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wouldn't be making one of our main targets. And
we've been talking about a number 6 for a while now, and we've looked at this season with Douglas Luiz, with Declan Rice, with Rodri. They're all number 6s that can contribute to the attack, get consistent goal contributions. And Ederson has got 6 goals this year in an Atalanta shirt. And with more coaching behind him, getting used to a new system, I think he can thrive, and maybe he can become that player for us.
Yeah, and he's not too young. I think he's like 25, so he's coming into a stage of his career where he's I think
24, yeah.
sorry, he's 24.
Well, he's about to be 25 in July.
So he's coming into a stage of his career where he's ready to like really go into his peak. He's got that experience behind him, and he could really be at his best.
Let's talk about defenders now. Alessandro Buongiorno. Tutto Sport says that Tottenham are convinced by Alessandro Buongiorno, have now moved to sign the centre-back. The player is keen to move to the Premier League. Torino are demanding 40 million euros to sell him.
Well, that's conflicting because we heard a few weeks ago that we decided to move on from him. So we'll have to wait and see which one's actually true. I think it was a simple, maybe it was
I think it was yeah.
Maybe. So I don't know which one to believe. I, for one, if we're spending that money, I'd look to throw that money at Calafiori first before we go for him. But he also seems like quite a good option, but I don't think he maybe has the pace that or the speed that Calafiori has. But I think on the ball he's quite good. Defensively he's quite good as well. Just whether I just don't think he's as good as Calafiori essentially, but he is a good option.
Let's talk about Timo Werner. Ange Postecoglou was making comments on when the decision will be made on Timo, and he says, I think from the perspective there's a deadline there. Again, a lot of that will depend on the negotiations between the two clubs and how Timo feels. Again, from my perspective, I'm comfortable with that situation. I'll let the other guys steer it and see what kind of outcome there is. I don't like that there's negotiations going on between the two clubs.
Of course there is. Spurs are always going to, despite any previous agreements, Levy is always going to try and see what he can do. Even, what was it, the Kulusevski one? We had an agreement with them for an option to buy, but he still managed to get some money off that, if I remember rightly. Like, it doesn't matter what agreement you have with Levy, unless it's signed on the dotted line, there's an obligation you will be paying this much. Like, he's always going to try and get some more money off. So, that's classic Levy.
But Timo's not the guy we want, though. He's not the guy we need.
In terms of I think obviously we have till the 14th of June to make a decision. So I think there was also reports saying we're going to try and look at other options before we land on Timo, and so I'm guessing that's with a view of that, with a view of if we haven't found that option, then we'll push the button on him. Just because there's negotiations doesn't mean we're definitely going to go for him. I think it's just getting ready for it in case.
Yeah, well, I hope that it doesn't come down to that. Just put it that way. And last but not least, let's give a big congratulations to Will Lancashire, who won PL2 Player of the Season, 22 games, 21 goals. And he's also got the option to win the PL2 on Sunday, Tottenham against Sunderland in the final of the playoffs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah, it's funny when we talk about giving youth players a run or a go. Will Lancashire's name doesn't usually come up as much. I feel maybe he deserves a bit more respect. And when I look at him play as well, he does seem to be physically quite.
Yeah, he is quite physically big.
Quite big, and maybe that's why he's getting so many goals. It's maybe a bit too easy for him at that level. So I'd love to see what he could next season, if he gets a loan or if he gets a few cameo appearances in the Europa League or something. What he can do, because clearly. That level is too easy for him.
Well, you say that level's too easy for him. He's doing very well, but whenever I watch him play, he always needs like a couple of chances to put the ball in the back of the net. I don't think it's like he's scored a lot of goals. Obviously, 21 goals in 22 games is an amazing stat. But he actually gets a lot more chances than that, because this team create bucket loads of chances. And I always feel like he takes like a number of times to finish to actually put it in the back of the net. So I actually think these stats are a bit misleading of how good his finishing actually is.
That's what you're saying, unless he has 40 goals.
I'm not saying unless he has 40 goals, but I don't think he's ready for first team football is what I'm trying to say.
So how many goals should he have?
Not goals. I don't know. I don't know how many chances he specifically had to how many goals he should be scoring. But what I'm saying is his finishing is not as good as these stats suggest.
Okay. But Haaland, is he a good finisher? He misses 20 chances a season.
It's true. That's also true. Haaland isn't as good as a finisher, as everyone says.
Fair enough.
But anyway, that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the news stories we've brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.